Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. It's great to see you all. And welcome to the SER Summit. And today I'm going to be opening up by talking about cracking the code on intelligent content automation. But before we get into that, does anybody know what a BHAG is? It's one person here, but I think he's cheating. Anybody know what a BHAG is? Go on then, Will, tell us.
I know it starts with big and hairy.
It is a big, hairy, audacious, that might be a new word to some, goal. It means a very, hard challenge for yourself, to push yourself, like the USA said we will go to the moon by the end of this decade, or Elon Musk says we will get to Mars and put civilization there. A big, hairy, audacious goal. And of course, SER says we're going to be the leading next generation enterprise content management provider. But in this case, we're going to talk about a special kind of big, hairy, audacious goal, or BHAG. What's your content management BHAG? What are you trying to put your ladder up and climb up? So I want, over the course of this summit, for you to think about what are your content management BHAGs, and try and get those solved at this summit and in the course of the presentations you're going to see and the folks you're going to interact with. But I've got some BHAGs for you, real customer BHAGs. Let's have a look at some examples. Imagine that you could ask Doxy to help you solve your BHAG. So let's give Doxy this BHAG. Hey Doxy, can you read all our incoming emails, identify orders, launch order workflows, manage all computer-aided design and order documents, and ensure we complete orders in time? This is from a real manufacturing organization. I'll tell you a bit more in a moment. Sounds cool. Let's have another one. Hey Doxy, can you store all documents forever, even if there's more than 60 billion? That's from a real logistics provider. And then finally, hey Doxy, can you look through 4.5 billion years of Earth's history and tell us how we can reverse climate change? That's quite a big, hairy, audacious goal. We look forward to talking more about that one. But that's a real institution that's trying to tackle, world-class institution that's trying to tackle these challenges. So you'll be glad to know it's not just me killing you with PowerPoint up here. I'm actually going to bring these three customers up on stage, of which these are parts of their BHAGs. SEW Eurodrive, and bring Benjamin Schaller up in a moment. DHL Express, Martin Trade is going to come up and talk about this BHAG, and Steen DuPont from the Natural History Museum in London is going to come and talk about how can we help to solve climate change and other big, hairy, audacious goals. But before we get on to that, what about you and your BHAG? There's your BHAG. Why can't you just go and conquer your BHAG? Well, because unfortunately your BHAG is locked up behind barbed wire with a very large door. And the only way to open that door is with a combination code. 6 codes. And to get those, we need to crack the code to intelligent content automation. And that's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to ask some of our customers to also help. Okay. So what is, for those of you who are not familiar with this, what is intelligent content automation? And let's start with the 3 areas of enterprise content management. Content services platforms, which is all about capturing, storing, managing, searching, archiving your enterprise content. Content collaboration platforms, which is about helping people, distributed teams, to collaborate using content. And operational content apps or applications, which is about receiving, decoding, understanding content that's flowing to you, and then launching the appropriate workflow to manage that content. Could be invoice automation, could be customer onboarding, could be patient onboarding, and so on. Now, the three examples we looked at are sort of coming from those different angles, but they all require all of those parts. So SEW Eurodrives, yes, they're processing orders with the example, but they also need to store them, manage them, maybe collaborate around them. Natural History Museum is collaborating, but it needed to create that repository and store that information. And of course, DHL Express is, we're talking about the scale there, but of course there's lots of processes and workflows around that and collaboration. So this is why Doxis uniquely is a platform that sits in the middle here that converges the requirements of these different areas. So, and this is the start of intelligent content automation. But there's more. To crack the code, we need to solve 6 business challenges. And then we'll enter that code and see if we can unlock our BHAG. So first of all, content automation to match the pace of business. We've already introduced the fact that there's information with documents and other content flowing into your business. You need to be able to look at that, understand it, decode it, and then launch the appropriate workflow to do things around invoices and orders and customers and suppliers and so on. But you've got to be able to keep up with the pace, and it's got to be a certain level of intelligence involved. And that's why other automation techniques, like robotic process automation, for example, don't work here, because they're all about automating simple workflows, and they typically are a surface-level technology, scraping the screen from one application and pasting it into another, but they don't actually understand the content. So you've got to have it something aligned with content. But the second requirement is also very important, which means you really need to be able to understand the content that's involved here. And so you need to use AI to be able to understand that content. So let's double-click into these 2 requirements and see how we crack the code with them. So first of all, the Doxis platform is unique in that it brings together in a common metadata kernel content management, storing and managing and searching and archiving your content, process automation, all around how to automate processes and workflows around that content, and AI-powered document understanding, all sharing the same framework so they can work together. Let's double-click onto the AI-powered document understanding. Now, here, we are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to leverage the best of what's out there. The AI revolution is gaining pace every day. You will hear Douglas and Gregor talk about this in more detail. But essentially, we want to bring all the best capabilities, and to do that, we use a technique called composable AI, which is the ability to map the key and most popular AI frameworks into our metadata kernel so they can be used in your content management. So for example, OpenAI, Hugging Face, the Azure Forms Recognizer have all been integrated in the Doxis platform and solutions. And then they can become embedded AI that you can use in your applications. But also, so that focuses on things like pattern recognition, decoding forms, understanding language. But then you've got also contextual AI, which is looking at patterns over time and gaining contextual wisdom. So, for example, recognizing this is one of our common suppliers who's sending us an invoice, I can short-circuit the decoding of it. I can check whether it's outside normal parameters. Maybe it's fraudulent, and so on. So these are different types that are important to help crack the code. And then finally, how do you interface at a higher level using AI? So you've all seen ChatGPT, and it's all very successful and in the news. But what about applying that technology to enterprise content? ChatGPT can't do anything for your enterprise content, only for your internet search. So we've mapped this into our Doxis platform, and we're providing Doxy, the intelligent content assistant, which is the Chat GPT for your enterprise content. And you'll hear more about this from Douglas and Gregor as well. And you know, Gregor is a lovely, lovely man, our CTO. And I tell you, it was my birthday on Saturday, and he sent me the loveliest email. I got this email, and I was reading it, you know, about how much he likes working with me and, you know, how much I mean to him. And, you know, as I wiped away the tears, I sent him a note back saying, "That was such a wonderful message. Thank you so much." And he said, "Yes, ChatGPT wrote it." That's actually a true story. Anyway, I know you love me, really. So, we're going to now talk about intelligent automation. And we're bringing up on stage our first guest, Benjamin Shalar from SEW Eurodrive. Greetings, sir.
Good to see you.
See you.
Hi.
Apparently, we have to stand apart. I don't know. I'm not dangerous.
I'll keep distance.
Just in case you're not warm enough, we have a fire, so that's nice. So, Benjamin, first of all, tell me about who you are, what you do, and what does SEW do?
Okay, hey everybody. I'm working for SEW. I'm quite confident in saying, even though I don't know many of you, that everybody has been in contact with our products, but you've never really realized because they're properly hidden most of the time. John, one example would be for you. If you've traveled from London, maybe through Frankfurt Airport, all luggage transport systems in Frankfurt Airport are driven by our electronic motors that we are producing. Two other examples, interesting for people in the room. For example, an exciting example would be roller coaster Silverstar in Europa Park is pulled up by electronic motors of SEW. Also going like to the border of Germany and Austria, the cable car to the Zugspitze, sorry for the translation, is also pulled up by the motors and gears that we are doing at SEW. Yeah, so we are a global leader in industrial automation. So we're producing electronic motors and frequency inverters. And I personally am responsible for the DOCSIS system, which is used internally, basically all over the company for internal customers.
And Benjamin, I hear that you even wrote your master's thesis on DOCSIS. This could be a first. Is this true?
I'm not sure if it's the first. I'm sure there are many students in SER that maybe did that, but I will find out. Maybe not. Yeah, indeed I did. It's 4 years ago, and I wrote my master thesis, and the main part was using AI for automation of document processing. Yeah, and it was very interesting. It was very nice to see how, what can be done with the DOCSIS platform.
Pretty cool. And how many content apps do you now have running on your DOCSIS platform in SEW?
I will talk about that later a little bit more. But I can now say we have a history of 30 years SER at SEW. So we have applications all over our company from finance to purchase to sales into production. In total, it's 80 to 100 different applications of different size and with different use cases. So it's a quite big system, I would say.
Very cool. And we're going to come on to your presentation in a minute. But having set up so many apps, what's been the key to cracking the code for intelligent content automation for you?
I think for SEW, I would say, since it's a lot of different applications with many different use cases, it's always very special to look into specific requirements from the users, but also building applications that will be scalable all over the world, because we cannot build it specifically for one area and then just leave it there. We want to have it all over the world in all SEW environment. So this would be one topic that we have here. And the second one, and this is very important, or has got very important in the last years, is automation in general, because we're always talking about many, many documents that are currently processed manually. And this is taking a lot of effort of our employees. And this is why we are trying to automate everything that we can. And this is also something that I will talk about later. Yes.
Brilliant. So let's just talk to finish off. You're giving a presentation. When is it? What's it about? And everybody should be there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think it's 2:30, directly after lunch. So everybody will be fresh from lunch and happy to hear my presentation. And it will be about automation with AI, but this is only one example, and we're coming to a study that Forrester did about the total economic impact of DOCSIS. So we're trying to find out what's the economic impact of using DOCSIS at a company like SEW. So I think it will be very interesting, and I'm looking forward to having all of you here listening to me.
Very cool. Well, Benjamin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Did you enjoy that fireplace there? It's nice, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so back to the challenges. I think Benjamin's given us a lot of insight around intelligent automation. Next challenge to crack the code is pressures of time to value. In other words, how can you get your content apps quickly into the market and beat your competitors? So there's some issues around this. There's a spectrum, and what we've tried to do is really think about how can we help on the entire spectrum? Because you can have pre-built content apps like invoice, or automation, contract management, human resources, content management. So they can be pre-built, and then it's a question of installing and configuring them. So that really gives a good time to value. But then you may have something that's specific to you, and that's where you might need a completely customized situation. And that's where our customer experience team, which is the new name for our professional services and customer operations, come in, as well as our accredited partners that can help make that time to value as short as possible. And something actually interestingly in the middle that you're going to hear from Douglas, our VP of Products, about is a new innovation called Fast Starters. They are a library of templated content apps that you can use our Business Studio, which is a no-code environment, to add and remove fields from, customize, and then deploy in the cloud or on-premise. And this is a really fast way of either you building a customized content app or having a partner or the CX team build it. So this is very interesting. Other innovations which you should dig into over the course of the summit are also innovations in the DOCSIS cloud. We have now public cloud offerings, private cloud offerings, and of course they can be spun up and configured quickly for you, as well as our managed service offerings that really help with time to value, because you can have on-demand technical experts there ready to help you roll out your next content app. So this is time to value. And then the next challenge, number 4, massive scale content challenges and requirements to unlock dark data. Dark data is data that you have somewhere in your business, but you're not able to use or link to. It's not being managed. And of course, this is a big problem because you're not getting the insights from it. Oh, that's bright. Have you got your sunglasses on? Put them on. Look at this. Who knows what a zettabyte is? Even Will doesn't. It is 1 billion terabytes. Okay, so in 2023, 120 zettabytes, so 120 billion terabytes of information and content will be created, captured, copied, and consumed in the enterprise. And then by 2025, that's going to be 180 plus zettabytes. So huge amounts of content are being created, but yet 54% of that is dark, not being harnessed. A lot of the working day is spent looking through stuff, trying to find it, trying to find what you're looking for. And all this leads to $3.1 trillion of lost revenue from poor data quality in the US alone. So we're looking at, trillions globally of information. So this is a big problem. If you can harness all of that data and manage it, then you're on to a winner. But of course, not everyone has the scale to do so. So let's talk now to another one of our customer experts on the topic. And I'd like to invite Martin Trader to please come and join me on stage. Good morning. Hello, sir. How lovely to see you. Welcome to the fireplace.
Getting warm already?
Yes. We'll do some toast in a minute. Now, Martin, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us how you came to be working on the DHL Express project and what you're doing now, please.
Okay. Yeah, Martin Treder. I've been working in logistics for 25 years, now ending up in healthcare. A very interesting change. You can talk to me about that on a one-on-one basis. And in logistics, data gains relevance, and it's not about the quality of the data necessarily. It's primarily about the volume of the data. It's really about a huge number of standardized shipments every day. And yeah, that's what we saw in your fourth point, I guess, about scaling. And we had to find a solution to document, to store and manage all the documents around all of those millions of shipments around the world. You might have heard DHL Express, the most international company. That was our challenge.
And is it true that you really had 60 billion documents in your archive, in your content management system?
Yeah, well, it's a simple exercise of math. If you just imagine each shipment has just 5, 6 documents only, but you have 2 or 3 million per day. And if you imagine 250 days of working per year, and then a couple of years that we've been doing that for now, yeah, you end up with that tremendous figure. And people say, "Oh, I have an archive with 1 million documents." We are talking about 3 million documents on top every day.
Wow. So how did you crack the code in architecting such a system?
Yeah, we first set up the logic. How does it relate to each other? In the past, of course, we have always had to store all these documents somehow. We stored them country by country independently, and then a shipment from country A via country B to country C had to be stored. The documents had to be stored 3 times for purposes in the 3 different countries. That was inefficient, partially not available. Country A just didn't archive things that country C required, because why should they have put the effort in? So we had to find this common single source of truth for all of the documents. Yeah, we looked around and didn't have to go half around the world. We had to cross the River Rhine because we are on the other side over there.
Hooray! Well, that's wonderful to hear. Now, you are doing a presentation at this summit. Can you tell us when it is and what it's about?
It is tomorrow. Tomorrow, one of the first ones. And it is about a tremendously important aspect of all that we've heard so far, the foundation, the data. And everybody is after the big fancy things, the shiny reports and machine learning and all that stuff. None of that works without a solid data foundation. So that's a bit the ugly stuff in the cellar, right? It's a bit like a sewage system, right? Nobody really appreciates it. But if it doesn't work, people feel the pain. And I'm going to talk a bit about that foundation.
Well, on that note, I thank you very much. And it's wonderful that you were here with us. Martin, thank you very much indeed, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, we're on to the final 2 code pieces that we need to unlock your BHAG. Number 5, the need to integrate multiple business applications. And of course, this is super important because enterprises are moving increasingly to best-of-breed architectures. They might have ERP from SAP, CRM from Salesforce, the Microsoft suite, they might have ServiceNow, and so on. And so you want content management to be both natively inside these systems, as if you're using that system, but also you need to integrate across those systems to be able to share definitions of, for example, a customer, and to also drive workflows that go across multiple systems. So this is super important. One particular requirement, building on that, number 6 code piece is the need for enriched content collaboration. And what we mean by this is collaborating around content. And there's really 3 different pieces here in the cutting edge of content collaboration. Some of you will be involved in number 1 here, and there's a presentation actually, I think from Vaka Shemi about this. Linking Doxis to collaboration platforms, storing, managing, archiving content around, for example, if you're using Teams, then all that data can go dark unless you're linking it to something where you're recording all those insights, those pictures, those notes, those interactions. So that's super important, enhancing what you have. You may need to go deeper. You may need a specialist capability like Doxis iRoom to control invitees, roles, versioning, and rights, and so on. So you can go that way. But then, interestingly, and what we're going to talk about a bit more in a moment, is distributed collaborative apps for things like research based on content repositories with metadata. So imagine that you've recorded all of your information and marked it up with metadata that might have been added by AI-powered bots reading documents and describing what the elements are. Then perhaps you've got distributed apps that are working on those to try and solve really big problems. And solving really big problems, it brings me to my next guest. There he is. No, not really. We're going to bring up Steen Dupont from London's Natural History Museum.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Great to have you here. Now, Steen, for those of you who don't know London's Natural History Museum, could you tell us a bit about it? And also, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Right, it's a big building in London. It's quite big, quite old. Has a lot of stuff. And that's where the problem comes. Everything's different. Everything's unique. Everything has a lot of data. And how do you deal with that? How do you manage that? Luckily, that's not my problem. I'm a program manager. I run IT programs. I hope my CIO is sitting down there. So yeah, I manage one of the big programs for the museum, which is about solving this issue. It's about managing that data. It's about understanding how we distribute that data and how we leverage that data to tackle some of not John's BHAGs, but our own BHAGs.
Exactly, exactly. Now, you're working on something called the Recode Program. Can you tell us what that's all about, please?
Yes, I can. So the Recode Program stands for, this is going to be half my talk, so you can skip 5 minutes tomorrow. It's rethinking collections data ecosystems. And it's about the collections management system that we have that manages our digital collections. So it's about revamping that, bringing it up to speed, bringing it into the next century, and applying all this technology that another sector have. We come from a different sector, which again I'll go into in the talk, which is quite different, and we're trying to leverage a different sector. So we've just stepped into this, which is very exciting, and we're hoping to see how much we can utilize and how much of a difference we can do.
Fantastic. Now, content collaboration then is something I know close to your heart. Can you tell us a bit about your vision around this and ultimately what you can get to? And can you really do things like start to come up with some answers around climate change or extinction of species? And is that real?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if the data is enough, if the data pool is large enough, if the time span is long enough, and you can look at the trends and you can look at the differences and you can map that to other data sources like temperature changes, tide changes, things like that, you can start seeing those trends and you can start seeing the actual effects. And that is part of what we do, is we lay that foundation of knowledge so that people not only understand the issues, act on the issues, and can have enough data to talk about the issues. So while we might not tackle climate change by ourselves, we make the information and the knowledge available so that we can raise the issues and talk about them. That's part of what we do. We tell stories.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm so excited about that. And you're giving a presentation here as well. Can you tell us when it is and what it's about, please?
It's going to be bright. I might have to change the color on my slides.
You need sunglasses.
Yeah, so the talk's tomorrow, 10:45, I believe. And yeah, it's going to be all about the exciting new challenges that the museum is taking on by taking a different platform from outside its sector and trying to build on that and solving some of its biggest challenges, some very, very core challenges to not only itself, but the community of museums around the world. Because one of the things that needs to happen is you need to build on the pool that each of the institution has. So you're not just sharing information across an industry or across an organization, you're sharing it with individual organizations. They all have to agree on how to do that. And they have to agree on the data standards, the format, how you do it. And that's a huge challenge that's beyond us. But we need some help. We'll get some help. We'll talk to others. We'll figure it out.
Brilliant. Well, we're really looking forward to that. And Steen, as always, a great pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, we've got our 6 code pieces. We've had the experts up here to help us crack the code. Can we get the BHAG out? Free that BHAG so that you can have content management bliss. Let's try the code. We've got intelligent automation, AI, time to value. We've got the scale. We've got the integration with business apps. We've got the next generation content collaboration. And look, we've unlocked the code. And let's see. Press the button. Oh, BHAG is out. Yes. So nice. So nice. So, use this summit to crack your code. You may have some very specific requirements, a BHAG in mind, several BHAGs. See if you can find the answers. And then you can embrace your BHAG, just like Prince Harry. Completely, we're not sure where that came from, but it had to be included. So thank you very much, particularly thanks to Steen, Benjamin and Martin, and enjoy the rest of the summit. And I shall hand back to my genial hosts.
Thank you, John. That was fantastic.